Hi, I'm Neelam Pandey, and we are watching ThePrint. Karnataka Congress President sings RSS anthem. Party leaders express disapproval of their own state chief. Opposition criticizes Siddaramaiah over selection of Dasara Chief Guest. What exactly is unfolding in Karnataka? To break down all of this and to analyze this, we have with us Sugata Srinivasraju, who's analyst and author of several books, including The Conscientious Network, A Chronicle of Resistance to a Dictatorship, Strange Burdens, The Politics and Predicament of Rahul Gandhi. He is also the biographer of former Prime Minister H.D. Devegowda with his book Furrows in a Field, The Unexplored Life of H.D. Devegowda, and several others. Welcome to ThePrint, sir. Also
Thank you.
joining me is my colleague Sharan Poovanna from Bangalore to give us greater insight into this entire issue. This is the subject that we have taken up for discussion in our this episode of Political Adda. Well, to begin with, let's start with DK Shivakumar first. He has, he sung the RSS anthem inside the Legislative Assembly. He has been lauded by the BJP, but obviously pulled up by his own party colleagues. He is then forced to apologize. What do you think was going inside his head when he did this? And then, it was followed by an apology. What can you make of it?
Do you want me to take this?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Great. I did watch that assembly proceedings. So to say, DK sang the RSS anthem would be a little inappropriate or incorrect, because I think there is a context to the whole thing. There was a debate happening, and it was about Dharmasthala, presumably about Dharmasthala, which is another kind of complex issue that's happening in Karnataka. It's again a Hindutva hotbed, and the whole Hindutva argument has come to play in a very different way there. So I think it was, he said, if I'm correct, he recited the anthem, and he said, "I too know all this." I've been there, I've seen that. But the problem with DK Shivakumar is that he does not have the nuance or the language to defend what he said there. DK's problem is that his political language is very loose. Someone like a Siddaramaiah or anybody from a certain kind of a socialist background sitting there in the assembly would have probably used it in a very different way. The problem with DK is he does not have this linguistic felicity to take something like an RSS anthem and turn it around and turn the phrase and throw it at the BJP. So I think that was the problem. I don't think anything particular was going through in his mind, because suddenly political journalists start asking these questions. Are you signaling that you're going here or you're going there? He has answered that, but having sort of seen this game go on for a very long time, everybody, in Karnataka, there are strange bedfellows in Karnataka. Everybody is with everybody. So ideology is a kind of a smoke screen that gets used. So I don't think DK, in my reading, I don't think DK was trying to hint at anything in particular, but it is because of his lack of linguistic ability. Language is not particularly his kind of forte. He is very casual in his utterances. He's more a money and a muzzle man, probably. So when Siddaramaiah or any of his other colleagues would have played it up very differently. So I wouldn't so directly say that he sort of invoked the anthem, the RSS, to create a certain kind of effect or to signal something to somebody. I don't think that was the case. It just happened.
Right. But, if you talk about optics, do such incidents sort of risk alienating key section of Congress's support base, let's say the minorities?
No, I don't think so. Because if you know Karnataka politics, what has been happening in the last 6 months to a year. Now, the entire argument that is being taking place both in the BJP and in the Congress is about compromise politics. So why was Basangada Patil Yatnal thrown out of the BJP, expelled from the BJP? Because he has been saying that his president which is B.Y. Vijayendra, he says he's in bed with Sidramaya. And if you look at B.Y. Vijayendra's record in the Shikaripura electoral record, it's very obvious to anybody as to who aided his victory there. So, and a similar allegation has been made about Sidramaya and Yediyurappa for the longest period that I know. I can't verify these things, but these are things that are there in the public domain, that people are making these accusations. All true. And then if you are talking so much about ideology, this whole Dasara thing itself, which we will come to a little later, puts the Congress in a certain kind of a bind. So we have to understand why Congress gets into a problem every time something cultural comes up or something about tradition comes up. That is what we need to understand. And I think DK's problem, DK was foolish. DK was plain foolish. And he comes out and he says something else which further sort of entangled him. And because BK Hariprasad and others started sort of pinning him down, he said, let's get done with this issue. I'll apologize. And I think also Rahul Gandhi is trying to convert the Congress into an ideological machine, which it is not. Congress is there is a kind of fluidity in the way Congress thinks right from the day it was established. The Congress cannot be a rigid ideological party, let's say like the BJP or the communist parties. So there is that fluidity with which Congress operated is sort of being tightened by Rahul Gandhi now, and he's trying to give it an ideological frame. In Rahul Gandhi's mind, there is a certain ideological frame that he has created for the Congress. But it need not necessarily be the case with his party men, because they're not used to such kind of rigidity, ideological rigidity at all. And just look at the neighboring state of Telangana. Revanth Reddy, which party did he come from? Where did he come from? What is his ideological moorings? He came from the ABVP. So DK also said that I was once, familiar with the RSS thing because I used to go there as a youngster in the Shaka, but now I am a hardcore congressman. I was a born congressman and stuff like that. So if you were going to the RSS Shaka, you could not have been a born congressman. So those are kind of standard phrases that get used now. But the problem is that Rahul Gandhi is trying to put the party in a certain frame, and the others are not able to cope with it because the general nature of discourse in the Congress has been very fluid about things like ideology.
Right.
So just continuing with, and you also broached upon this Dasara topic. Now Shivakumar's stating that it's a cultural event, nothing religious about it. Of course, it was Siddaramaya's decision to invite Booker Prize winner Banu Mushtaq. That's quoted a lot of controversy. And Shivakumar's statements have not, let's say, helped the Congress's case, at least in this particular instance. What message do you think he was trying to give when he was trying to say that it's a cultural event, nothing religious about it? Chamundeshwari doesn't belong to any one person. What was his thinking perhaps there?
Again, Sharan, it's the same answer. He's thoughtless. And he does not frame his sentences. He doesn't sort of have any basic kind of understanding as to how to deal with a very complex question like that. See, when something like that is flaming up on BJP, BJP is capitalizing on the whole thing because they know that they have cornered these people. And the reason that they think so is because what has happened with the Dharmasthala case, where, the Dharmadhikari and his family was being portrayed as people who have done a lot of wrong. And the BJP members and also the other parties, they all went there and said, no, we are with the Dharmadhikari, because they did not want to antagonize the followers of the Manjunatha temple there, which is a very popular thing. So a lot of things have happened in the backdrop. So when this particular issue came up, the Chamundeshwari thing, DK was plain again. I think it would be unparliamentary to say stupid, but he should have applied his mind and framed his response a little more carefully, which he did not do. And I don't think he has advisors who can even talk to him about these things, because he's the image that DK Shivakumar has is of a money man as an organizer. Even that, I think, is largely a manufactured kind of image. So this whole thing, his absence of felicity, he's not the spokesperson. And I think you should have been very careful, because the BJP is already jumping on you on this particular thing. And see, Chamundeshwari is a Muzrai temple. Dasara, see, if you look at every aspect of it, is the celebration of a local goddess. And the whole Dasara celebration is not a constitutional mandate. It did not start in 1947 or 1956, 1956 when the state was formed. It was a practice of, say, 400 years or 500 years of the Odeya dynasty, which has been continued. And a lot of rituals that are involved there are rituals which are Hindu rituals. So the BJP obviously wants to take over everything that is Hindu in the minds of the people, the Thekedari thing that is there, which they always do. So the moment they saw Banu Mushtaq being invited, even when Banu Mushtaq was invited, I don't think the government applied its mind, I mean, and thought through it. And anticipated this kind of an opposition, because they thought that she has got international recognition, and therefore sort of it will all pass. And there was a precedence. The precedence was Professor Nisar Ahmad had in the past, another Muslim writer, identity-wise a Muslim writer, but a Kannada writer, I should say, had inaugurated the Dasara. But Nisar Ahmad has been given an exemption, because Nisar Ahmad uses the imagery of the Kannada goddess, the Bhuvaneshwari, in his writing. And he has also written on Hindu gods. So he is far more acceptable than a rebellious kind of a person. There's also a gender issue. A woman being a rebel is a double complication, right? And this lady, Banu Mushtaq, had made a speech in 2023, which is being cited. I'm sure Sharan knows that thing, where she actually said that it makes it very difficult for people like me, who belong to the minority community, to embrace the cause of Kannada, because you have made Kannada into Bhuvaneshwari, a goddess, a statuette of that kind, and then the Kannada flag is vermilion and turmeric, right? So she actually says that. So now the BJP cleverly has jumped on that speech, and they've said this lady does not regard either the goddess or the Kannada thing, and so why should she be called? So what they are doing is wrong. They cannot be exclusionary. Now, even bringing in Deepa Basti and saying that why was that lady not called, she contributed to the success of Banu Mushtaq, is basically trying to sort of instigate the Kodavas. I mean, Sharan is a Kodava, he would understand. Deepa Basti, I think, is from that terrain. So they're trying to play their familiar tricks. But the problem is, at the core of all this is that the Congress does not have a cultural narrative or a cultural thinking in place, and therefore every time an issue related to culture or tradition or gods come in, they are in a bind. They don't know how to wriggle out of it. So what is the best response that DK gives? He says, I am more Hindu than them, or we do all the pujas than them. So that was the kind of line that Rahul Gandhi used to take in 2017 when he was on a temple yatra. So Rahul Gandhi is a new convert into a kind of ideological frame that he has given the party. Right? So congressmen are confused. They don't know what the cultural line should be. And now, I can give you more instances with Dasara. For example, the Banni Mantap, where they go. Banni is the Shama tree. Where it's a tree associated. It's said to be a tree that is that's associated with the two epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Rama, it is said, that worshipped the Banni before he took on Ravana. And then Banni is a tree where Pandavas hid their arms when they had to be in incognito for a year during their 14 years of Vanvas. And now that is worshipped. The DCs and the Tahsildars have to go and do that. Is that a constitutional thing? So India is the kind of the situation that you are in Indian context, if you take a very strict constitutional position, then you're letting go of a lot of tradition and culture. And Congress has to work on a certain an argument or a narrative where they can be more accommodative of these things. So if you try to exclude tradition and culture, then how do you handle every other festival or every other thing that is thrown at you? So
Right.
that is the core of everything.
Right. You've already spoken about how the BJP can or has been using to its advantage, but I also wanted to know that, does this controversy sort of have the potential to influence Karnataka's political narrative beyond the Dasara event itself?
No, I mean, they go on adding. It is not that this is the only narrative that will influence something, some outcome. That is not how it happens. It is like, drops of water form an ocean, that kind of an argument where, these are little drops that get added to the kind of BJP's, the BJP's kind of rationale, if one could call it rationale, about the Congress being a party that is into Muslim appeasement. They don't miss an opportunity to show that the Congress is actually doing this at every bend. So they try to do that, and this will keep incrementally sort of playing a certain role in politics. We don't know how much it will vitiate the actual environment in Karnataka. And now you should remember the JDS is also with the BJP. So the Mysore belt, which was always very clear of these kind of arguments, for the first time in the last 2 or 3 years saw Tipu Sultan being being villainized. Similar kind of a thing. It is not there in the minds of the people, I can tell you that much. If the BJP had not made this into a controversy, I don't think the people of Mysore would have said Banu Mushtaq was a bad idea. But then that is about politics. That is about trying to put something there and try to retrospectively build a kind of an argument for yourself and for your existence, and trying to corner the 80% vote that they always try to say is with them. But if you look at their vote share, that has never been the case. No government in Karnataka has got more than 50% vote share at any given point of time, and no political party. So I don't know how it will actually play a role, but it has an incremental thing. It may radicalize a person here, a person there, a small group here, a small hobli there, a taluk there. And also another thing about Banu Mushtaq, since Sharan mentioned it, see, it is like the case of Gauri Lankesh. She is an activist writer, and she has spoken a lot, which is not very palatable to the BJP. But it goes in sync with the kind of argument that the Congress has been making. So there is these people try to catch hold of somebody being put on a pedestal like that and try to pull her down. So that is exactly what is happening.
So narrowing that from the larger narrative down to DK Shivakumar himself, sir, at a time when he thinks he's going to replace Siddaramaiah, statements like, supporting the Dharmasthala, statements such as, the Chamundeshwari, any statements, you may call this his problem with language or framing, a proper sentence. Do you think it's denting his chances that the party high command looks beyond him because he does this often? Or does he then become very acceptable in a very compromised political scene, like how you earlier said? So where does that leave him, let's say, when there is a time that Siddaramaiah is replaced?
No, there is only one factor that will influence whether he becomes the chief minister or not, and that is about the MLAs. And clearly the MLAs are not on his side. So he doesn't have the majority MLAs on his side, and that is the reason why his maneuverability or his elbow room has been reduced. So this argument or the other, he has contributed enough to the party in terms of both money and network and stuff like that. I don't think the Congress High Command per se will get upset about this, because every other congressman in Karnataka or in Telangana or anywhere else in India is largely compromised on this thing, because it's a very complicated thing. This cultural thing is a very complicated thing. You can't find a true blue Ambedkarite speaking for the Congress. right? So that ideological rigidity is something that is not in the bloodstream of any congressman. So the Congress cannot hold DK to account on that factor alone, except perhaps for Kharge. I don't think there is any other congressman in Karnataka, one or two like Kharge, who would completely refrain themselves from speaking a language which, brings in a bit of culture and tradition and religion and gods and speak a different kind of a thing. So you will see Congress politicians doing the chakkar of temples as much as any other BJP person. So, I
Right.
mean, I don't think that is a factor at all. That is a factor at all. But it's the only thing is, can he mobilize the MLAs to be on his side? I think he has the high command on his side, and from what I know. But the high command is not able to move because he doesn't have MLAs on his side.
Just to add to that, you talked about how he will mobilize, but what does this sort of visible disapproval from, Congress leaders, it suggests or says about internal dynamics within the state unit?
Yeah, there are factions and there are factions inside the Congress. See, why was Rajana kicked out? Rajana thinks that it was DK who snitched on him, and therefore he was thrown out. And before that, DK and Rajanna, who's said to be the cooperative minister, who was sacked from the cabinet recently. So there is a Sidramaya faction, clearly. There is a DK faction. We don't know how many MLAs are there. Then there is a kind of neutral high command faction, and the infighting between all three is very active and very alive. And you read that in Kannada newspapers every other day. So Parmeshwar is trying to sort of position himself in a certain way. Satish Jarkiholi is positioning himself in a certain way. H.K. Patil thinks that if all these guys eliminated, he may emerge as the chief minister. Then DK sort of keeps, sending this message that I am a loyal congressman. I will not take on Sidramaya in public. He has a game with the high command. We don't know. Amidst all of this, there is another faction, which is that of Mallikarjun Kharge himself. See, Kharge is a factional player in Karnataka. So Kharge may be the compromise candidate as chief minister if these two start bickering a little too much. And DK wouldn't have a problem accepting Kharge as long as Sidramaya is sort of kept out. We don't know. That could be the kind of arguments that you may see after November. So there is the Congress. Inside the Congress, B.R. Patil has been speaking a certain language. Sidramaya's economic advisors have been speaking a certain language. There is absolutely no unity of argument inside the Karnataka Congress. So, and the guarantees which have drained the coffers and the kind of economic situation that they've landed themselves in has also not helped them in any other thing. But the only thing that seems to be going for the Congress, right, is that the BJP is more disorganized. And the JDS is completely in a kind of a somber state, completely morose. You don't know what they're doing. So that is the only advantage, and the numbers, 135 is a huge number for any, and the opposition doesn't seem to have those numbers, or even if you have to buy in like they did it during Yediyurappa's time, it's a lot of numbers that you have to buy, so it's not possible. So one hopes that some out of the box thing happens and everything collapses.
So, I mean, since you did mention the BJP and their organization in Karnataka and the JDS, we'll just stick to the JDS for they're a very prominent regional party in Karnataka, but now it appears almost like that they are merged with the identity of the BJP. They're standing in, Kumaraswamy sort of is in sync with whatever the central government says, whether it's on Hindu, things that he opposed before. Of course, I understand what alliance politics is. But do you think that he's now, in sort of on a defensive wicket, allowed sort of pushing Nikhil forward? Where do you think the JDS is in this entire alliance? And do you think that they can retain their identity soon enough, sir?
I mean, that's a good question. See, but as far as I know, I think they're extremely conscious of their identity. I can tell you that much. See, I don't think Kumaraswamy has put his nose into anything that is Hindutva, that is clearly Hindutva, and tried to say that, let's go whole hog and support this. I don't think he has done that. I think they are very, very, very careful, and they know that their base, that is the old Mysore region, was attacked the maximum by the BJP during the last assembly election. The 4% or 3% that went away to the BJP, which had never made a mark in that region. So they're extremely conscious of what they have gotten into. I think their combination that they have built with the BJP is more an act of survival, and the BJP also needs a leader like Kumaraswamy, because you tell me who is there after Yediyurappa. Yediyurappa is retired, right? He didn't contest the 2023 elections, so his son is not acceptable to anybody. Look at the kind of rebellion. He's not been confirmed. I think he's only one of the 3 BJP state presidents in India who has not been confirmed. Why? If he was Yediyurappa's son and if he had the backing, then why did Yatnal get thrown out? So, I mean, what is happening there is also not very palatable to the BJP. So, acceptable in terms of a face for the coalition, which gets acceptable, is that of Kumaraswamy. So, the BJP High Command needs Kumaraswamy as much as the Kumaraswamy and JDS needs the BJP. So, I think they're both watching each other's back very, very carefully and closely. And the decennial obituary of JDS has always been written. I write about it in my book. Okay. But they're I don't know. I mean, they may sort of recraft their whole approach. We don't know. But we have to watch that space very carefully. I don't think they let it go so easily. And Nikhil has to make a mark. If Nikhil doesn't make a mark, then there is a problem. There's a clear succession problem. With Prajwal in jail, Nikhil has to sort of make a mark, because they've finally groomed it as a family party. So they have to expand their, support base.
So, well, please, Sharan, you can ask.
I'll just follow up on this JDS thing. So now with Kumaraswamy taking up a more Delhi role, I know he's juggling between the 2 cities. Do you think that Nikhil can, I know they're pushing him, but do you think Nikhil can shoulder the responsibility, or will it still fall back on Deve Gowda to set everything right within, sir?
No, Mr. Deve Gowda is very old. He's 93. You can't expect Mr. Deve Gowda to now go out and campaign like he campaigned 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. So the party has been largely dependent on Deve Gowda and Kumaraswamy. And, and Kumaraswamy being in Delhi now, the responsibility has fallen on Nikhil to mobilize. But Nikhil is still a work in progress. So Nikhil we still don't know what his potential is. But off late, whenever I hear him speak on television, there is a greater articulation, and there is a greater level of understanding of local politics and nuance. In fact, his use of language is far better than that of D.K. Shivakumar. He's far more careful about his use of language. Politics is all about language, right? How you play a certain thing. Otherwise, Rahul Gandhi would have been somewhere else if he knew how to use his language. Rahul Gandhi speaks in binaries. That is the problem, right or wrong. Politics is not about that. Politics is so much of gray, and that is where someone like a Siddaramaiah negotiates brilliantly. Someone like a Kumaraswamy negotiates brilliantly, or a Karnanidhi or a Deve Gowda. They were past masters at the use of phrases which would mean several things at the same time. So when I see Nikhil Kumaraswamy now, I feel initially there is the promise at one level, but we don't know. Whether he has lost 3 elections. Let's be honest about that. So we don't know whether he can actually.
Yes, one last question. So going forward, what is it that you think D.K. Shivakumar needs to do to avoid such controversies in the future?
Yes, he has enough money and he has enough advisors. So I don't think we should advise him at all. As journalists, my job is to see how complicated the situation is for him, for his party, and why, without a cultural narrative for the party, they get caught each time whenever there is this talk of God or culture or tradition, because Dasara is all about tradition. And you can't solve every political problem by showing the red constitution handbook which Rahul Gandhi sort of demonstrates. You can't solve it by reading the preamble. Politics is far more complex. So I think that Shivakumar has that. He's nimble-footed in that sense, but then his language gives away. His problem is that, and his image is a huge problem. He's not seen as someone.
Yeah, please continue.
Yeah. No, he's not seen as someone who carries that kind of a gravitas.
No, I was just saying one last question. Nationally, what do you think the impact of such controversies is? Like, Dasara and all this is being debated as much in Delhi as it might be in Karnataka. So for the Congress party, what does it mean?
Naturally, Neelam, they'll use every opportunity that is available to embarrass Rahul Gandhi and the family's kind of opposition to such kind of talk. See, the Congress, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. If the Congress had evolved a narrative, a cultural narrative in a country as culturally diverse as India, then they wouldn't be in this kind of a fix. So it's a deracinated party. So the BJP has an air cover of Hindutva and does several other things. But the Congress has no air cover at all. So each time an argument like this comes up, they will be happy to sort of use that to embarrass them. And the mainstream media cooperates with all gusto, to do that. So that is the whole thing. So the impact is that the rest of India will see that the Congress is not a party that it claims to be. But there are people in the Congress who are powerful leaders who are talking a language of the BJP or imitating the BJP or trying to be in bed with the BJP. So because you asked this, the other question that has been nagging a lot of people is, Siddaramaya's Badami victory was recently raised by CM Ibrahim, and CM Ibrahim, who was a close associate of Siddaramaya, said that he had to buy 3,000 votes to ensure victory in 2018 for him. Now, will Ibrahim ever say who he purchased those 3,000 votes from? Because in that election, the guy who lost, he was contesting on 2 seats, was Sriramulu. Sriramulu was contesting a seat from Chitradurga, and he was also contesting a seat, the Badami seat, where Siddaramaya was. And Siddaramaya lost Chamundeshwari by a huge margin to JDS, and Badami was also was almost gone. And now, where did he get those votes from? So those kind of questions, locally, people are smart, people know, that this is not a kind of a straitjacket kind of a thing or a straight line kind of a thing. Politics is not a straight line thing. They have their crutches and they use all of that. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining in and for this great insight. Thank you, Sharan. We will be back next week with yet another episode. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Neelam. Thank you, Sharan.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.